Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Summer School. Today, we are here with Chris from the viral post, Tara and Kevin. If you don't know what I'm talking about, before we dive into today's show, you have to click the link in the description to go ahead and see the photos of what we are talking about. But before we dive in, which is going to be a little ironic in the end, if you keep listening, we're going to talk about AI. But I have to shout out today's sponsor. And for the next year, our sponsor, Narrative AI, it is a AI culling and editing software. I love it. I feel like they are here to empower artists to, get through images faster and even get through life and create art even more. I absolutely love them. They're the best software if you want to try out anything for culling or AI editing. It is the best. So go ahead and click the link down there and try that out. And we're going to dive into our feelings on AI later on in this episode. So before we do that, though, I'm going to play a video that was in response to Chris's post on Tara and Kevin that when I heard this video, I was like, I have to have him on the podcast. This is so well spoken, and I love everything about this. So we're going to listen to that together, and then we are going to have a chat. So here we go.
I wanted to follow up on the Tara and Kevin post because I guess the post itself wasn't really the point. What's been sitting with me since then is what this level of AI improvement actually means for the wedding industry. Not in theory, more in practice. For a long time, we've talked about AI like it's some distant future problem, something that might affect creativity one day. But what's unsettling is that it's already here and it's already good enough to blend into the background without drawing attention. The change doesn't really announce itself. It more shows up by reducing the effort required to fabricate something to the point where scrutiny stops happening. And that shift has consequences. I don't think AI is inherently useless in this industry. In fact, I think it should absolutely exist in all the places that we hate spending our time. The admin, the sorting, the parts of the job that drain our energy without adding meaning. If it can give us more space to think, to create, and to actually be present, then in my eyes, it's just a net positive. There are some situations where I can see AI being practically useful, especially in the early planning process where a couple has a blank canvas venue to try and understand what the space could become rather than what it currently is. And used carefully, it can operate as that visual aid, something that helps to start a conversation rather than conclude one. The difficulty is how quickly that use can change. Because when those visuals stop being clearly positioned as references and they start being treated as outcomes, they begin to influence expectations in ways that aren't always obvious at first. What was intended as a starting point can easily become the benchmark. And at that stage, decisions are no longer being made around what can realistically be created, but around an image that may never have been achievable in real conditions. And that's what makes this so complicated. The issue isn't the tool itself, it's how easily its purpose can shift, particularly in an industry where anticipation, emotion, and imagination are already heightened. Where things become genuinely concerning is when AI moves beyond support and starts shaping the final work in an industry that is built solely on memories. There's also a way of thinking I've noticed emerging within the industry where AI is described as an enhancement or a way of expanding what's possible or compensating for limitations. And I understand why that idea is appealing, especially when it comes from frustration rather than intent. But that reasoning can also create real problems because when enhancement is used as justification, it allows outcomes to be presented that cannot be consistently produced in real world conditions. And at that point, what's being adjusted isn't the work itself, but it's the expectations around it. And those expectations don't stay abstract. They are carried directly into client conversations. It suggests experience that hasn't been accumulated and environments that haven't been worked in, pressure that's not been managed in real time, because weddings don't take place in controlled settings and they don't exist to explore these hypothetical results. They happen once under circumstances that cannot be repeated or redesigned after the fact. And when enhancement becomes the priority, I feel like accuracy is what gets compromised because it's not just about entirely fake images designed to fool people scrolling on Instagram. It's also about something far more subtle and honestly something I hadn't even considered until it was pointed out to me by a friend, Madalena, which is the alteration of real images that are then delivered back to clients as truth. A changed facial expression, adjusted light, or a moment reshaped just enough to feel smoother than it actually was. And then the record of the day begins to move away from what genuinely happened. Weddings are not conceptual projects, they are lived experiences. And when we reshape them after the fact, even with restraint, we aren't just editing photographs, we're influencing how people remember one of the most important days of their life. And that's why I think transparency matters more now than it ever has. I think clients are going to need to apply more scrutiny, and not in a confrontational way, but simply asking who was involved, who created what, and how something came together. The genuine artists in this industry won't hesitate when those questions come up. They're open about florists, the planners, the stylists, the venues, and all the people behind the scenes who made the work possible. And I think that openness matters because real outcomes are supported by real people and real processes. Issues tend to surface when that clarity isn't there, when answers are vague and details sort of get avoided and the credit is difficult to trace. And it's in those moments it becomes harder to understand how an image was actually produced and whether what's being shown reflects a genuine result or something constructed after the fact. Clients are already asking more questions than they used to, and that curiosity is only going to grow. The risk is that when responses become selective or overly polished, confidence fades quite quickly without a single moment where it obviously disappears. And that's why collaboration has to mean something concrete again, not the version that exists online, but the reality of people working together in real conditions, responding to time, light, weather, and human behavior. That process isn't perfect, and it's that imperfection that is exactly what makes the work believable. I also think this is where physical processes start to carry more weight again. Film, for me, matters because it limits revision. It requires decisions to be made in the moment, and it produces something that existed physically at a specific point in time. And it's not about nostalgia and stuff like that. It's about accountability. It ties the work to reality in a way that becomes increasingly important as digital manipulation becomes easier to hide. What concerns me most isn't that AI exists, it's that unlabeled, unspoken use of it becomes routine, and nobody feels responsible for how an image came to be. Because when couples can no longer trust what they're seeing reflects real outcomes, when photographers start measuring themselves against work that never existed, and when expectations are shaped by images that could not have been produced in practice, that's when the foundations of this industry start to weaken. Weddings rely on trust, not trends, and not aesthetics. It's always trust. And anything presented as real has to remain real. Otherwise, we are slowly removing the thing that makes this work meaningful in the first place. And those are my thoughts on Tara and Kevin.
Okay, now we are back with Chris.
Hello.
Absolutely loved that video, Chris. When I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, he is so well spoken. This is amazing. I have to have him on the podcast. Freaking crazy. Man, before we dive into all the thoughts on AI, and if people haven't had a chance to look at the images, go ahead and look at those right now. But before we dive into all of that, I would love to know a little bit about you and your background, and even a background on your work before we dive into only your thoughts on AI, because you're an incredible film photographer. And I feel like that needs to be talked about. And also, I feel like the AI you created, what drew me to believing and seeing it as so real was because it didn't just look like a perfect image. It literally looked imperfectly perfect, which, I mean, that is like a whole nother world of AI. Is it looked like film. It didn't even look like a perfect, when you think AI wedding imagery, you think this perfect, like, wow imagery, like side back, like crazy, like 20, like wide lens, like, nothing that's actually realistic in any way, shape, or form. But yours looked real. And I think that's like the defining difference. But I think it also comes from who you are as an artist. Like, it looked like your film work, which I thought was even crazier.
That's scary to think about.
Right?
Yeah. So to kick things off, obviously you've introduced me. I'm Chris. I basically don't use digital anymore. I only shoot film, and this has been like I'd say it's been like a 5-6 year progress to sort of get to where I am with film. it's something I love. It's something I won't ever go back on. And I want to touch on this like later on with you, but I think that shooting film in the years that are going to come with AI is going to become increasingly important because it's physical and tangible. And it's almost like you have proof, which is something that is going to be really questioned, I think, in the next few years. So yeah, I take photos. I go to pretty places. I use film. I don't really think I've got too much else. But yeah, the Tara and Kevin post was mental. And it came about. I got told about this like Nano Banana Pro thing, which is it Google? Is it their new
It's
thing?
Google, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So I got told about this, and I think the first thing that went through my head is like, for branding purposes, that is an awful name. And like, it doesn't
genuinely
mean anything.
What is this name? Actually, the name is crazy.
Anything.
The name is absolutely nuts.
And I was like, actually, speaking about this, I need to cancel my subscription to it because I'm not paying them another penny. But I went on and I was like, right, it can't be as good as everyone is seeing. I was on Threads and everyone was like popping off, like, look at all these images I'm creating. I was like, it can't do that. Yeah, it can. It really can. And we were talking about AI and things like that. And I was talking to my partner and she said, like, there's no point doing a post like that because you're just going to rage bait people. And that's not really what you should be doing. But I thought, like, I was creating these wedding images without really thinking about what I was typing, what the prompts were. It was just playing around. And these insane images were coming back. And I was like, I've got to do a post because I will fool like everybody. And then, yeah, it just went mad. And here we are.
The photos truly, even I showed them to my parents this morning, which I get. I get parents are different than showing them to someone that's younger. I get it. But my dad, he's kind of into AI. He talks with ChatGPT a lot. My mom, anything could probably fool her at this point. Love her. But my dad specifically, I showed them to him and he was like, holy smokes. Well, this must just be a slightly altered real image. And I was like, I don't know, man. I'm pretty sure it's like a good bit AI. I would love to know, like, was it derived off of it was potentially derived off of your real work, but was Tara and Kevin like a unique concept or was it pretty similar to something you had shot? Does that make sense?
So I've never really shot weddings like that.
It's
not. Yeah, I'm not like in the like luxury market, I would say. My couples are kind of like, we've got a classic car, we're going to go to McDonald's, and that's kind of what I love shooting. So yeah, I think, and the prompts I was giving it were not complex whatsoever, and I didn't upload like any of my own work. I think I was a bit worried about that because there's the option to like upload a picture, and I felt really weird about my couples being scraped for likeness.
Yeah,
because that would obviously happen when you upload. So yeah, I didn't do that. I think the prompt was, do you know what? I can probably tell you exactly what it was right now.
Let's know. I'm curious. Because I saw the one on your film account too, and that basically just enhanced your own imagery.
Yeah, so that
feels
was
a lot
okay.
different than generating a new idea or new people.
Yeah.
And all the people felt like they fit together, which I also thought was really impressive because I've messed around in Nano Banana like last week once because I've also heard it's amazing. And I needed, what did I need? Like an invite for my 1-year-old's birthday party. I was like, okay, like let me just see if it could make something decent because I don't have time for Canva right now.
Yeah.
And it's, going to 20 of my relatives, it's not deep. But it did horrible. So I am impressed that yours did good. I mean, it did good, but it didn't give me what I wanted, which I don't know. I think prompting is a little bit of an art.
Yeah. So my prompt for, like the cover image, which was like them two slightly out of focus. My prompt for that, here it is, was the details of an upmarket wedding with high budget shot on disposable camera. That's it. And I don't know, I was expecting worse, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, like there was no real, it's not like an artwork, like you say, to prompt well, because there wasn't
Because
really
that
a
was,
good
yeah,
prompt.
that's crazy. And I'm not going to lie, it looks, in my opinion, decently similar to the type of vibe you create, which I also thought was crazy.
So I went on and like obviously I found that, and then I started doing like dancing shots, and I would like type in like blurry dance floor, and then just like copied the exact same prompt. I think what the craziest thing about it is on the post, I'm going to just go to it now. So when things start to get blurry, on the third image, where it's like the grey one of them dancing, you can see that the light, and what AI has done really poorly in the past is like using motion. And you can see that the light blur is just like a straight line in the chandeliers above. But when you go to slide number 13, it's the dancing one again of them. It's a little bit wider, and you can see all like the chandeliers in the top. The light isn't linear. So you can see it would almost replicate if you were shooting like shutter drag, and your natural motion is never going to be exactly linear, and it's replicated that. And I think that image blew me away the most. And when a friend of mine pointed that out, I was like, oh yeah, that's that's wild. So yeah, that's that.
I think the only ones that to some people may have even felt AI are the ones of the ceremony with, let's see, because I remember seeing it and someone was like, well, that one could feel AI. Let's see. And I'm like, well, you only think that because I told you it was AI. That's what I said. It's more so just, I think, how perfect the ceremony with the two lights, because of the lights in some way maybe make it, but I, even then I told the person, I was like, you only think that because I told you before I showed you these that it was AI.
Yeah.
It's really not that. You would not know. Like the detail, the cake shot, that's crazy.
Oh, that one,
that's
like,
freaking crazy.
It's so realistic.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was. I think that was the one when I created it, and I thought, okay, yeah, there's like something here for realism, because you could just do a whole post of details, and no one, not a single person in the industry would have a clue.
Freaking wild. Did you tell someone that your prompt was disposable camera in the caption anywhere?
No.
Or maybe it was in the comments when I was scrolling the comments, because I remember someone commenting, well, this doesn't look like a disposable camera, or something like that. I swear, I don't know where I saw that. If I'm wrong, maybe I'm wrong, but it's so funny that the light leaks and everything, like it just looks like, yeah, I would hire this film photographer. Let's be real.
Yeah, me too.
This film photographer is really freaking good. The vibes are there, and the vibes, these aren't even real, which is just crazy. The faces are good. I mean, AI before this, I don't think could ever create such realistic people.
It was the hands as well, wasn't it? I don't know if you remember, but when AI was first sort of booming, everyone was like, look at the hands, and everyone had like 6 fingers, or like just mismatched and warped features, and that was kind of a tell. But even like,
and the shadows are good, like the detail shot, the shadows are correct based off of where the light would be placed.
Yeah But what I don't get is like, where have these images been scraped from? That's what I'm.
These are good.
Like who's shot that?
Evidently enough people for it to generate one for you.
Yeah.
Man. Well, I technically have questions based off of your video that I wrote down, and everyone listening knows I normally don't even write down questions, but I wanted to know, the first one I had was like, what we've talked about Tara and Kevin, we've talked about the images, but what inspired you outside of just hearing of Nana Banana, maybe the threads, like what inspired you to be like, yeah, I want to try and make fake wedding images just to see if I could kind of basically just, I mean, you may have just been doing it to be curious at first, but then it turned into let's actually show this to the wedding industry. You know, what
Yeah.
inspired you to kind of go down that rabbit hole?
So I was on the sofa with my partner Freya and a wedding videographer friend of ours, Ben. And I was just like messing around. We were like watching something on the telly and just like hanging out. I was just messing around in it, and Ben was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I've just had some scans back. Like, what do you think?" And I showed him the ones I'd created, and I'd like downloaded and saved them. And he was looking through and was like, "Yeah, these are really nice. Like, where did you get these developed? Where did you get these done?" And I was like, "Oh, it's AI." And he was like, "What?" So I tricked him, and then I tricked my partner, and then like after I'd created a few, I was sending them to like group chats that I've got with wedding photographers and videographers, and everyone was coming back and going, "Oh yeah, these are really nice. They're really classy, like really upmarket, like some of your nicest work," which I was kind of offended at. And I would just reply with, "Oh yeah, no, that it's all fake." And I think the reactions that I was getting from people who are pretty good, like good industry professionals, I thought there's just something more here, and I think people need to know that it's shit's about to get crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
I did that to my husband, but not with photos. I was at a workshop, and me and a guest I had had on, he was into the app Suno, which creates music, and it's AI music, probably more advanced than Nano Banana. And we fed it like artists I liked and artists my husband liked, but also I was in Europe, so I fed it French artists specifically, like a kind of psychedelic French artist that me and my husband are into, and kind of had it pull from that. And then, yeah, our prompt was kind of pulling from that band. The band is called La Femme. I love them. If anyone doesn't listen to them, go look them up. We kind of pulled from La Femme and then made it a little darker. And oh my God, the song, after like a couple generations, the song it gave us was so good. I was like, this is crazy. It was so good. The vocals, the voice was so unique. It was crazy. It was absolutely out of this world. And my husband had been, in a funk around AI in the music industry, at least back then.
yeah.
Everyone told me, they're like, Summer, this is so mean. But I told the guys, like, you got to download this. I got to send it to my husband. But I'm not going to tell him it's AI. I want to know if he can tell.
Yeah.
And because I sent him like an MP4 file, he was like, wow, he was assuming someone at this workshop, since I was in Europe, was like this crazy talented musician. And he was like, wow, this is so good. Like, who did this? And I was like, it was AI, sorry.
Sorry.
But genuinely, sometimes I'll like go listen to that song, like it actually was good. And for the music industry, I think it will change. I think it can. Me and my husband go back and forth on how we think it'll affect the music industry. But I think it's scary that a lot of the musicians a lot of us know aren't even writing their own music most of the time anyways. They're they're more so performers and stuff. But the people that genuinely write music, I think it's scary for that crowd. I don't beg to say artists, but the people that are, doing analog things, like writing music, like recording it in real studios. Like, I think it is worrisome for that world, because pop stars could easily get replaced with a lot of AI stuff, but because they're performers, they'll never go away from the live side of it. Whereas, you're like indie. I don't know. It'll just be interesting to see how the music industry perceives it. And I think it'll be kind of similar to how it ends up going in the wedding industry. But I think the perception of the fact that people just won't know. You could listen to an artist and have no idea that they're AI. Like, you literally would have no clue unless you looked into seeing them live and realized you couldn't or something. Like, who knows, But then again, they could send in a live art, like someone to perform live for this AI band, Like, who's to say that won't happen?
Oh, that's a scary future.
And no one would know unless someone made some sort of law that made people have to know. I don't know. I think there should be labeling in some capacity, but then it's like, what's the line? Because then the government has to decide what's art and what's not, And I think that is a really interesting, hard conversation. But you did say that you're fine with AI existing in the admin kind of side of creating things. And I thought that would be interesting to touch on, because that begs the line of like, what should or shouldn't AI be involved in, but kind of like I said, of like, then it makes us question, well, what's art and what's not? What can AI do and what shouldn't AI do? you know?
Yeah. So
I thought that'd be interesting to chat about.
I don't typically use AI to create anything. I only use it to do the tasks that like take away from my, I guess, like mental space to do stuff. So a really good example is recently I've had to do my tax return, which is such a boring thing to talk about on a podcast. But usually, so I've got an accountant and I'll have to create all these spreadsheets with like incomings, outgoings, expenses, blah, blah, blah. And then I send them to him and he does all the return and tells me how much I owe. And it usually takes about 3 days for me to do all of that, like go through all my bank statements. But I uploaded it all to ChatGPT, so exported my bank statements via like into like a PDF or whatever, uploaded it, told it to make these tables, and I did my tax return in like 7 minutes.
Are you at all concerned that it may have done wrong?
Well, yeah, but then that's what the accountant does.
Oh, that's true.
He'd
Yeah,
look
he'll
through
balance
it.
and yeah,
So
you're right.
so it's not like I'm taken away from a job because I've still got an accountant to do that for me. But it's meant that the 3 days that it would have usually taken me, I've now got like a spare 3 days to go to the mountains and like use the camper van and do whatever I want to do. And I think that that's the side of what we do that AI should be doing. It should be freeing up our time to pursue creative stuff.
That's actually a really good note as to why I actually really enjoy the company narrative that sponsors this podcast. Is I feel like they're a lot more about like helping you do it faster, not replacing you. And I have found that I like that line of things in the industry because I had tried some of the other softwares, and for my style, AI editing will never completely do it for me. And I don't even want to advertise that it does that. Like for my style specifically, AI editing, at least as of now, is not there. But it's also because I'm editing from a place of like intuition. Not every single edit is exactly the same. Like
Yeah, exactly.
genuinely. And not every single edit on every single wedding is ever going to be exactly the same. The lighting's different. You know, there can be like a base edit that is similar. And I do that across all galleries so that, you know, there's consistency for clients, and that AI can do. And I'm fine with AI like running that first round so that when I look at it, at least some of the coloring's like there, but it'll never completely do things for me. And then culling wise, I don't want it to. Like I would rather go through them. I just need the advanced features of things like narrative to show, you know, a close-up face panel and like help me just move faster. And that's the side of AI I do like, where it's helping you make your decisions quicker, but it's not trying to replace what you're doing with an AI side of things. And that has been an interesting line in the industry of so many softwares popping out and so many features coming about, which is just crazy in our industry how fast things are changing. And I know in the next year it's going to happen so much quicker. I mean, I think we're definitely going to see, you know, those same kind of softwares and programs probably implemented into our cameras and, you know, advanced coloring inside of your camera and things that it's just like, man, at that point, when does it even become AI and when does it become just a way that you're shooting, which is crazy to even think about. But I did love the note you said that it's going to give us more space to create. And I think that is the side where admin, you know, things like culling, man, I'm trying to think of other areas. Like this could be, I would love to know your opinion on this because I technically could use a video editor maybe, but we do use a software called Opus Clip and it just clips the podcast into short videos, short form for like posting online. So it's not like creating anything new.
Fine,
it's just trimming it. You know what I mean?
Like the work that you're putting in now, like making time, recording this, doing whatever. And then you just have to re-look through all the stuff you've already recorded infinite amount of times to create your like short form content. Like what use is that's no use to you whatsoever. So
exactly.
Yeah, if you get something to do that for you and in the time that it's doing that you can do another podcast, great. Winner.
I think the key thing that both of us don't like is like deception or things that aren't honest or transparent. But I think that begs the line of how will we ever know? I mean, that's the scary side of your post is unless you told us that was AI, would the average viewer have known? I don't think any viewer would have known, honestly.
I don't think most people like outside of the industry, like, or not even the industry, but like just who use cameras and are photographers. I think if you're just like a member of the Joe public, I don't think you would have ever. I mean, my mum sent me something the other day. It was like a grizzly bear with a jacket on, looking at the sea. You know,
And you're like, of course that's
she
AI.
she's never knowing what is real and what isn't. She's a lost cause. But
Oh.
like, I think that there could be a way where, let's say I post those images with nothing, no like gotcha moment. It's just, here's some nice images. I think I'd like to think a few people would have messaged me and been like, this is really different to your work.
Hmm.
I think maybe I should have tried to create stuff that was more akin to my work, but then again, I didn't want to upload my work.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's a strange line to draw, because yeah, you're right. The deception of it is going to be crazy. But then I think the way around that is not necessarily on the person to label it as AI. Because so what I found really interesting actually is when you upload. Have you ever uploaded to Instagram when you've been in Photoshop and like AI removed something and then exported the image and uploaded it? Have you ever seen this? And it
I've
will
seen how
come
it
up.
says like made with AI,
Yeah.
but I've never
So
had it done with my images.
okay, so I've had that a couple of times with mine. I'm like, it's so infuriating because
It's not
people will
even
just
correct.
assume, yeah, it's like I got rid of a bag in the bottom corner next to the bride getting ready, but people will just assume like the whole image is AI because no one ever does due diligence online. It's just, let's jump to the worst possible conclusion and like go in on that. And then I thought there's got to be a way around this, because my AI post doesn't have any warnings that it's AI on it, and it hasn't prompted me to put it on. And all you had to do was download the image, import that image to Photoshop, and like create a new image, and then export that, and it removes all the AI from the metadata.
Hmm.
So there's like no checks for the post I did on the wedding account or the travel account. It's just taken as like gospel, which to me was kind of crazy. So that was a nice experiment, which also made me think, oh God, like what's happening? But yeah, I had a point to make on that, and I got totally sidetracked. Oh yeah, so I don't think it's ever going to be about the person uploading to have to prompt that it's AI. I think the due diligence and the scrutiny has to come from the people booking, and it has to come in a way of like the collaboration. So I don't mean like Summer Grace and Grainy Boi like collaborated on a post and it has a little thing at the top. I don't mean like that. I mean, weddings are like collaborative things. You know, you work with planners, florists, like dress suits, venues, anything you can think of is done by another person who's got a different creative eye. And it's all like you're all mashed together and doing something that's going to look great. And I think that's where it's going to come in, because if I post a set of images and I can be like, this was the florist, this is the venue, this is the caterers, this is the videographer, versus someone who's created a totally AI thing or like partly AI, and in their caption they can't name. And if I as a client go to them and say, oh, who's the videographer on this wedding, because I bet the video is really nice, and I can't answer that, then that's going to be the red flag, I think, in the future. Does that make sense?
It sucks though that it's no, I mean it makes sense, but I think it sucks that it then puts it on the client to basically, upon before even chatting with someone, basically having a stance of like distrust. Like we
Yeah.
as humankind are going to have that position eventually on questioning what's real and what's not. And that is just going to be such a new concept that I think is going to be hard for everyone to grapple with. And I think it does suck that it will be on the client to have to ask that when they are reaching out with people, you know?
Yeah. But then again, like, you know, scams have always existed, haven't they? And if someone at the bottom of the ladder trying to make a few thousand is going to do it pre AI, and now they're going to get away with it because scammers always existed. I think the scary thing is if that people who aren't necessarily in it for like disingenuous reasons start utilizing AI to enhance what their images might look like, and then don't have the capability to like deliver on that. I think that that's going to be more of a problem than just doing like one more step of research.
It'd be kind of like the argument with styled shoots, like, oh, someone goes to this very
Oh,
beautiful
100%.
thing, and then they can't take those same beautiful images at a normal wedding that they end up at.
Yeah.
Which I've never actually had that big of an issue with, because I mean, anytime I've been at a styled shoot, like if anything, it's more hot chaos than real wedding days. I probably take better photos at real wedding days, if we're being honest. And I think a lot of people's opinions are the opposite, but maybe it's just who I am. I don't do well taking photos with 10 other people. It's especially on film. Oh my God. Definitely real wedding days, in my opinion, create better images, at least for me. I think child shoots are their own thing that I don't think normally fool and deceive clients, if we're being real. I know it's a hot topic people love to kind of shit on, but I don't think it's actually that big of an issue. But I think it would be similar to AI. Like, people might create images just to fluff up their portfolio or sprinkle them in within their Instagram feed to make things look more aesthetic. And maybe it's this dramatic, detail shot that they never shot, and maybe they don't even know how to light. And that will potentially definitely become an issue. I think maybe even more than styled shoots, if we're being honest.
Yeah, like I think like you say, a lot of the thing was, but what if this photographer buys a camera and does a load of styled shoots and has this crazy portfolio and then can't replicate it? But also, that photographer is not going to be coming in at like the same budget as you and I are at.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not. I'm probably never even going to run into these people, because
No.
and this is another thing that really took me by surprise. Is I think I know a lot of people in the wedding industry, and then my post like went viral, and every single person sharing it was in the wedding industry in some capacity. There was no like average Joes sharing my images.
Yeah.
It was all people like yourself.
It was a pretty niche post.
It was, yeah, but also like I was like, Jesus, there's so many wedding photographers. Like, and I don't think I've ever really thought about that, but there are so many.
Yeah.
And if I'm not worried about this, like 2,000 people that shared that post, then why would I be worried about someone who's just using style shoots? Because I'm never going to see these people.
I think the main point being deception, though, is important as people that we like consider and think about. Because I was talking to you, this is before the show, guys, so sorry that I'm referencing something before this, but I was talking to Chris about how so it's so funny. I had a conversation with someone about AI and how it'd be interesting to have real conversations on it. And then I saw Chris's post on Tara and Kevin. And then I got pushed 2 ads from the same company in our industry that I have great relationships with, but I got pushed 2 different ads from them. And I swear, man, I'm like 98% sure these ads were AI. And I put it on my stories and people are like, Summer, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I'm not trying to make enemies right now. So I'm not going to tell you what company it was. But basically, it was a user testimonial kind of style video promoting the company kind of. And the funny part was it didn't feel AI. It felt very real. It felt like this person was struggling to get their work done before Christmas, and then because of this software they were able to like catch back up and spend more time with their families and friends. But it was like a hip dude in like a New York City apartment kind of vibe, and I was like, this is so. I watched it so many times. I was like, is this real? I really can't tell. And then I got pushed another one that it was basically the same thing, different font, but different person too, but similar like setup. And I was like, I get that the setup is pretty common for the YouTuber type guys, but at this point I am pretty confident it's AI, because I had already questioned the first one and I got pushed one that was basically the same. And I was like, man, out of a company in our industry that pushes how supportive they are of creators, of educators, of their people, and how they want to empower photographers to like free up time in their life, I was like, this is a load of BS. I am actually upset, because with all of that money that you have in a tech business, why are you creating fake ads whose intention is to deceive people and to get people to sign up for your product? It just felt bad. I think it's one thing when it's, another photographer in the industry that's saying they love this thing even those can be deceitful because a lot of people don't actually love the things that they're sponsored by or endorsing, which is a whole nother topic. But at least it's a real human and you can hold them accountable. When
Yeah.
it's AI and when you don't know, you just believe this person. And I just don't love that, especially out of companies who say they are here for the photographers of the industry. I'm just like, oh God, it just rubbed me such the wrong way, man. And I think at the end of the day, or when I put it up on my stories, I had a lot of conversations with people, and one of them would be interesting to tell you about, kind of hitting on the opposite side, which I found interesting. But at the end of the day, a lot of people agreed that that's just like not cool. You should not have user testimonials that are fake. Like that's just wrong. But one person raised the fact in the question that, well, that is commercials on TV, and that is, you know, TV in general. Any sort of ad you see on TV, it's always actors. They're never real. So if they're not real and they're endorsing a product, like that, and I said, but I think the key difference is that we as humans, we understand that that's not real. Whereas when you're talking about
Yeah.
like influencer type ads online, one, we as creators have to say when something's sponsored. But if a company makes an ad that is AI, they don't even have to mark that it's some sort of sponsored content. They can just post it as truth because there's no
no like
nothing,
legislation
there's no,
around it.
yeah. I'm like, we, if anything, as creators have more rules in place than the companies with the big dollars do. And it just sucks that it's being used in a way to convince people to spend money. I think that's the side where it's like, oh, that's just wrong. And I think the key issue for me that made it wrong was like, I think AI as a tool, like you said, is good. But AI used for like deception or like not like honesty. I told the person that said, well, it's very similar to commercials. Commercials aren't normally real people. And I was like, I get it. But also, like, when you see a medical commercial, it has all these disclaimers. You know that it's not a real person. Like, you know that those
But
are
I
actors,
think as well,
you know?
like when you think about it on like a deeper level than what's just being shown to you, the commercial that's like for Medicare or whatever. I'm
Yeah.
obviously not from the States, so I don't know what you have on TV, but like, or like an insulin injection advert or whatever it is, you know that they've hired sound engineers, they've hired actors, they've hired camera operators, they've hired like even like assistants to hold the boom mic. You know, there's all this money and jobs created for creatives. And like this is what I want to go back to. Like AI shouldn't be doing creative jobs. We should be doing that. The mountains exist for us to like frolic through. Like why am I getting AI to create me frolicking through a mountain while I sit at home and type away? Like I should be doing that, not the other way around. And so like, yeah, okay, it is the same in the sense that the actor on the screen giving me a message about Cheetos, yeah, he might be lying and saying they're the best chips in the world, but I know that as an actor, he's been paid to say that. But just like an AI creation, which has cost a company $300 to make, and then you've scrapped all jobs in the creative field to create that.
That was the part that bothered me too. I'm like, I know they have money and I know so many friends that partner with them. Why were those friends not given the money to make this ad?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then, but it runs even deeper than that because I don't know if you saw recently what happened with Disney.
No.
So Disney have just sold all their character likeness to OpenAI.
Interesting.
Which I kind of feel is one quite, I mean, obviously it's scary thinking about all the illustrators and storyboarders and writers who potentially could be out of work. But then is it Disney's push to make like a fully AI animated film?
I bet they will.
Yeah, and it will do terribly because I think everyone is aware that it's just going to be slop and people have lost out on work. But it's all this like little usage online. So the company whose advert you saw, the photographer who's like embellishing their portfolio, the videographer who's splashing in a little bit that you saw at the styled shoot in Italy. It's all this like little usage which these larger corporations see, and they just assume that we're all collectively okay with it because no one complains about it when they see it. And if big companies see millions of people online using this stuff and creating these things with no backlash whatsoever from people like you and I, of course they're going to think, oh, well, the world is just okay with this.
Yeah.
And
I've
at what
actually,
point does
though,
that stop?
I feel like we're gonna see like an anti-AI revolution next year, though. I don't
I'm the
know if it's
leader.
really gonna
I'm on
happen.
it.
Let's freaking go, Chris. Oh, I've been telling people this, that I think in the predictions for next year is I think we're gonna have an anti-AI wave, that AI became so popular but not quite good enough that it was more like a gimmick that everyone was okay getting into because it was just
Yeah,
AI.
it's a bit of
But
fun.
now it's becoming so good. I think you're going to have people where it's almost as though they're cooler because they don't use AI. Like, I think we're going to see that, like an
It's like the performative
anti-AI
males not using
photographer.
AI.
Yes. Yeah, no. I think it'll potentially be a thing. I think you'll see the industry shift. Maybe not, I'm not saying the anti-AI in the world of wedding industry specifically. I think we're just going to see it globally, like all industries. I think we will potentially see it in the wedding industry, but I think you'll see it in more industries even more than the wedding industry, because I think more are at threat than the wedding industry. And I
Yeah, I
think you're just
think
going to see like people want to tap into hands-on creating. And I think AI will always be a popular thing, but it is interesting. I'm glad with some of the partnerships I've gone with that I didn't make some of the ones that approached me, because I think in a year would I've still wanted that. I don't know.
yeah.
It's been interesting to even reflect on that, of like, man, I'm really glad that I've stood my ground and partnered with who I've partnered with in my career, because yeah, I don't really want to be known as a walking ad for something that like edits all of my images fully, because I don't do that. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that that wasn't a position I put myself in. And it'll be really interesting to see how everything shifts. I think hopefully we'll see shifts in educators. I think we'll see shifts in the wedding industry as a whole. I think, like you said, I have this in my notes, and I think we've only technically hit like two of my notes questions, but it was how film you think will become even more present because it technically limits revision. But your images literally look like film, which is the craziest part, the ones that you AI generated. But I think film, yeah, if anything, will potentially become more popular next year. But I think the hard part is if we're not delivering negatives, I mean, there's still no proof, you know?
You can prove it, like,
Yeah, you can, though, is what you're
and
pointing
that's
at.
the thing. Like,
Yeah.
maybe, like every time we do something online, we're not constantly like asked to prove that we did something, because it's just sort of understood that as
Assumed.
creatives we have done this. And in the off chance that Uncle Bob logs onto his computer and is like, we can go back and go, actually, no, like, here's what we've done.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, yeah, we won't have to prove it, but if we need to, we can. And I think with film, even more so, I can, like this picture behind me, I can go through that drawer and find the negative and just be like, well, there it
There it
is,
is.
and I think
Yeah.
that's going to be so important, because it's the burden of proof will lie on us. And then I think that's also could potentially help erase like the scrutiny that clients might have to go through to find people who aren't using AI. That if you approach a film photographer, here it is. Like, this is one of my weddings. And I think that maybe then it just becomes down to us to be more transparent on the creative and posting side of things for our business. Like even as a really good friend of mine, actually, Doug, who's does weddings and landscapes, very similar to what I do, lives in Seattle. A lot of his landscape work is like, here's the negative and here's the positive. So every time he posts, you can see that that image has been created and made by him. And he's really good at that. And I think maybe that's just the way I'll have to go. And that's fine, because I can, because all my negatives are over there.
Yeah, are you scanning your own film? You're like, this is not the question I was ready for.
No, it's so kind of. So I scan all my travel work because I have like a really distinct, quite vibrant and saturated feel to a lot of my travel images, which I really enjoy. But it takes so long. I don't know how you do your film. If you,
I take mine to a lab. I like my lab. I like my people. We're good.
Yeah.
We're tight.
So like, yeah. So for my wedding images, I use a lab called Carmencita in Valencia, who I've not found anyone quite like them. I remember I'm going to stop right there. I won't say anything about my old lab. But I was just getting exceedingly like unhappy with the images I was receiving from like various labs across the UK. So I bought this scanning setup. I was like, right, this is going to change my life. And the first wedding I ever home scanned was actually that Doug who I just mentioned. He got married in Scotland. And I went up and shot it all solely film and got home, got my images scanned, developed, and I brought them back home to scan them. And like the colors just were not, it was like the sky was like luminous green. I was like, what the hell is going on? Because this is not what it should look like.
Now it's me.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, maybe my lab wasn't so bad. And then the rumors of this Carmencita lab started like whirling, and I sent off a massive batch that I had home scanned, and I was like, these are crap. I'm not ever going to use these. So I just sent them off to this lab, and I got these scans back, and I genuinely nearly cried.
Aww.
Like I opened up this folder, and you know when you get that like little lump, and you're like, oh my god, things are happening. And I was set. I was like, okay, I'm done. So my scanning setup is in that corner gathering dust because I've not done much travel stuff recently.
I have a friend, also Europe. He's actually the next podcast episode that's going to air, I'm pretty sure. And I say friend, but I technically just connected with him like 2 weeks ago. But Daniel Knight Harris, do you know him?
Oh, I know of him. I follow him. I admire his
right?
work. Yeah.
So good.
Don't think he knows I exist, but he's he's like a real inspiration level.
I'm kidding. That was a joke, guys. He was talking on his episode that I think is going to air this next week that he's home scanning now and was telling me how much he loves it and that I need to do it. And I was like, oh, I'm so tempted, but I just do not have time, man. I just don't have the time.
It's really time consuming.
But I don't remember what he was doing it on. I had someone tell me it takes them like 60 seconds. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I need to do this. But I did recently, like last week, decide to teach myself how to do cyanotypes. That was really fun.
Cool.
That was fun. Very niche hobby. I had to go get digital negatives printed at like a little print shop because I don't own a printer like that. And it felt so old school. I was like, oh, print stores still exist. Like I normally just, fulfill everything online. So to go to a little print shop and be like, hey, can you please, they're printing like banners and business cards. Can you please like print these niche, like transparent film? They're like, why do you need this? Who's like using the projectors anymore?
About? Yeah.
And they're like, if you bring the paper, we'll do it for you. And I was like, cool. So I had my first round of that the other day, and I'm thinking I'll do a class. Oh, so cool. I'm like tempted I should go grab one. One of them is really sick. They're like in the closet. You know what? Yeah, guys, we're just gonna let me grab one real quick. Okay, so for the context for everyone, I'm going to a conference in Tennessee in like a week called Imaging. And I might be doing a demo at a booth. And they were like, we want you to do emulsion lifts. And I was like, well, I do that too. And I was like, well, I've been wanting to learn how to do cyanotypes. What if I did cyanotypes instead? Which is so ballsy of me to try and figure out how to master this in like a week. But I didn't have time to find some of my own images, but I had a folder of the owner of Narrative's landscape images. He doesn't even know this yet, so hopefully he doesn't listen to this. I'm gonna give it to him for Christmas. So there's like a little photo he took of the Dolomites that I printed. How fun is that? It's not perfect. This is my first time doing it, but kind of sick. And it was easier to just access his folder than dig through my work when I was like in a pinch.
Yeah.
This is a portrait I did that I think turned out really good, but unfortunately when I clipped it wet, it like has a mark. But let's see.
That's mad.
This one's pretty sick. And then let's see this one. This one's fun. This one turned out a little overexposed, but we're learning. We're learning a new skill, you guys. So
What is the process of that?
So basically, then don't quote me on like the real process, but I bought a kit of chemicals literally on Amazon, and you like paint a watercolor piece of paper with the chemicals, you let them dry, and then those chemicals are reactive to light. So normally you would do this in the sun. It's like a cyanotype. Sun print is another word for them. But I live near Seattle, so we don't have sun right now, guys. So I actually bought like a box off Amazon, and it can mount UV lights in the top of it. And then I could stick the image in. So you print, I'm sure you could do it with real negatives too, but I made digital negatives in Photoshop by like inverting them into basically a negative. And then you set the negative on the piece of paper, and it imprints through the light and the transparent paper.
How does it work?
And then you wash it, and the image just like kind of shows up. It's like magic. I need to learn more of how it works, so I'm really going to teach on this in like 8 days. But you guys, if you're going to be in Nashville, Tennessee, come through. I think I'm going to bring my UV box. We'll see. I don't know. I could do an emulsion lift instead, which would be easy. But I just thought it was so fun to, technically all of this would be a one of one. If you're using sun, every cyanotype would be a unique creation that couldn't technically be done again. So that's kind of crazy. And I think this one's really fun. The little landscape print. How cute. I learned a lot, though. It doesn't do well with like too much black, and the guy's work's pretty moody. So I need some images that aren't quite as moody if I'm going to pull this off. But yeah, it was interesting. It was a fun little experiment. I felt fun, like mixing chemicals and painting watercolor paper. But I totally just derailed us. But that's cyanotypes, you guys. If you're not watching the YouTube, you'll have to watch so that you actually know what I showed.
Yeah, that wasn't very podcast friendly, what we just did.
I mean, you told me, so I was like, I'll just go do it. Oh, gosh. I'm planning, for anyone listening that isn't a member in summer school, I am planning once I feel like I've mastered it more, because I want to teach you guys something that I'm not technically a pro in, but I am planning hopefully in the spring to do a demo on this inside of summer school, like a full class, full tutorial where I'm sourcing everything I'm getting. And similar to the emulsion lift class, I have a full like 30-minute like walkthrough of that as well. So I am planning on doing that, because I'm thinking this would be such a sick client gift this year. They make watercolor postcards. How cool would it be to imprint like a custom print from someone's wedding on a watercolor postcard and send it to them? Wouldn't it be so fun?
I'm actually annoyed that I've only just found out about this, because it's like the perfect Christmas gift as well. Like mums and dads are so hard to buy for, aren't they?
Yeah.
So like, imagine just doing that. Oh.
And I could have made them better by doing like painter's tape and having like a clean white border and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, but then it's a bit too like perfectionist, isn't it? It's
good.
quite nice that it's
I love
just
this.
Oh, that is such a good idea.
I know. I thought the landscapes, I need to try and do one more for that owner, because I'm like, this one's not perfect. I mean, it's okay that it's not perfect, but it'd be fun to do another one. I just need it to be less moody. I'm going to have to message him and be like, hey, please send
Do you have any non-moody photos?
Non-moody landscapes. Because when you turn them black and white, it just turns into a lot of dark blue. And that doesn't translate super well. But man, I would love to know if you had anything else that you would love to talk about on AI shaping our industry. Or if we feel like this has been a good convo and we're about ready to wrap. Because I had a million questions that I don't even feel like we need to hit on. I feel like we've talked on so much. But man, maybe what is something... I know that a million people are probably DMing you right now. This wasn't even my notes, but I feel like this would be interesting. There's probably a million people DMing you right now about your post. Like, what is something you feel like you've learned, or fears that you feel like people have had that maybe even you didn't consider from even just whether it be lashback or support of the post, but what's kind of been your reaction to everyone else's reaction? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's been a lot of like brown nosing, I guess, which is there's a lot of people like online you don't really get hate from people who have face accounts. So I've not really had any like backlash whatsoever. It's just been like, oh my God, like thanks so much for talking about this. And when it's really nice that people are saying that, and I'm really happy that I could like start the conversation, which needs to happen. But also when you get like your 300th message just saying like, thanks for talking about this, it's like, is anyone going to like actually
Have a
converse?
conversation.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the bit that's been lacking, is people are sharing it to their stories and having their say on it, which it's all very similar. Like, this is really worrying. This is going to be damaging for the industry and things like that. But I fear that upon sharing it to your story, in 24 hours, it's gone. And I think it will be gone from a lot of people's minds as well until the next Tara and Kevin happens. And they're like, oh shit, yeah, this is still a thing. Like, it is really bad. Whereas obviously you saw it, you commented on it, you then like decided you're going to do a podcast and actually speak about it. I don't think that's what people are doing on the whole, which it feels like, okay, I did this post, it's done really well, but then is it just like a viral post that gets swayed when I don't really care if
a little trend?
Exactly. Like, I don't really care that my post went viral. I don't really care that it's done really well. I more care about the conversation that it's hopefully can help start and like project. But I don't think many people are, because it's just, thanks for sharing. This is really dangerous. 24 hours later, look at my dog. It's like, you've got to do better. So I've tried my best to sort of have these conversations with people like over DM, but then equally having like the same conversation
over and over
X amount of times as like me to people who don't know that I'm also having this exact same conversation with other people is so mentally draining, because it's just the same points over and over, and you're like, yeah, I get it. I think that one point which I didn't think about at all when I was making it was someone called Madalena messaged me, and she said something along the lines of she's worried about it creating like false memories for people, in the way that if you have this image and I don't know, like you and mum are walking down the aisle to see whoever at the front, and you or mum aren't smiling because you're so like worried about what's to come, and AI gets so good that you can then change facial expressions on people. Okay, objectively your photo might be better and more appeasing for the client, but at what stage does that stop and start creating like fake narratives for what actually happened on the day? And as someone who would say like, yeah, I shoot quite documentary, I know documentary photography is such like a buzzword, but shooting film does make you do that because you're just photographing what's in front of you pretty much all the time. I think that's quite scary, thinking about, yeah, like false narratives and fake memories of what actually happened for people.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that is an interesting line to toy, because there is situations, yeah, where someone bridesmaid walking down, like I could totally see people swapping that face out. I mean, I've had photos where I chose not to deliver one of the bridesmaids because it was just like, man, it was just so bad. And then they're like, well, where's
Yeah.
this person? And I'm like, I don't think they want it, but sure, I can add it in. And then in a world where you could swap that, technically you could. And for most people, just off the cuff, it might not sound like a horrible idea. But I mean, genuinely, people will forget how these things happened in real life pretty fast. And the only thing they'll have to look back on are their images. So if they're not true, if they're not real, like if it's not actually how it happened, you are genuinely changing the way people remember things. That is crazy.
Yeah. So I think those two are kind of what I've taken away most.
You know, it does beg me to tell you about a software that I have used before. LOL. I love that I'm like here and I'm like, yes, I agree. And then I'm also like, but let me tell you. So there is this software that I have used called Evoto, and it's like kind of the AI Photoshop. And I think I'll be posting a video on it soon. But I've used it more in the sense to save mistakes or things than to I don't know necessarily how to word it, but basically I was shooting one of my friend's IMBD photos, like, you know, like an actor, director, their like little headshot on whatever. And I went and set up a backdrop in our like parking lot, and it ripped because wind came, and I don't know. So it was just this scenario that was not ideal. And I was like, man, I've heard of this software Voto. Like, let's just take a photo with the brick wall. see what we can do, because he needed, a studio headshot. And I think the difference is something like a wedding is a real memory with real emotions. I think a headshot is a headshot. I don't know if I
Yeah.
care if it's done in the studio, And that software was crazy. It literally was able to swap out a brick wall for a studio backdrop and made it look as though we shot in a studio. It like relit part of it. It was crazy. And that was perfectly fine for his 3 to 5 images that he needed. And I was like, man, like that's a really cool feature. I mean, you could shoot headshots anywhere and you wouldn't need to set up a backdrop. But it's
Did it like
almost
relight the face as well?
I think it did, or at least you could if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I don't know if we needed to, because I think the lighting was fine. We just needed to swap the background to be whatever color backdrop he wanted. And then it does amazing jobs with retouching. So I use a Voto for like, if you ever shoot someone with glasses and there's like a flash glare or like, their eyes, you can't see them because they're wearing like blue light. There's just, it's just a slider. You don't actually have to do anything. You just slide it and it'll like remove the glare, which is crazy. So fantastic tool when it comes to like retouching and things that in Photoshop I just don't have time for. But the backdrop swapping, I think it's pretty freaking sick. But it is like, is it kind of the same thing, different font? Like, is the only reason I don't see it as valuable because I'm not a headshot photographer, And so I'm like, yeah, I can use this tool and it doesn't matter. I have no idea. But I think the tool is pretty crazy.
I guess maybe the people who've like invested time and effort into having photo studios. There's a guy who I'm quite good friends with called Tim Dunk, who lives in Leeds and has a big photo space. I don't know, maybe he would feel differently. I feel like I'm kind of similar to you. Like I don't do headshots. It sounds quite cool that you could do that.
I know.
I feel like it's kind of, for me, it would lean into the whole, it's not a task. It's just going to take me ages to do that. So maybe if I can just make it quicker, I can do more stuff with my time. I think that's where I sit on that. But maybe if I was Tim and I have a studio and I've invested all this time into lighting and, like the curved walls and all that kind of stuff, maybe I'd be really pissed off. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how that one plays out. But I do really love the software. If any of you want to try it, I think I can drop a link below. I don't know for sure, but I might be able to drop a link to try it. It's really great for retouching. And that's something that just saves you time. I mean, a retoucher maybe would say differently, but that's basically the whole conversation and the complexity of all of this is it's so nuanced into also what is art and what's important to everyone and to different people, And so it's a very interesting conversation that I really enjoyed having with you, Chris. I really hope people do connect with you and have conversations with you after this. But I wanted to go back to your point of a lot of people have had similar conversations with you and that can get exhausting, but you want to see people having the conversations because you don't want to see them just share something on a story and then never think about it again. If you actually could give people something that you wish that they could do, like in their lives or in their social media or a way to really help this, like what would you actually tell them you would love for them to do? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just want to see people talk about it to their friends and their family and other people in the industry who aren't me, please. I think I want everyone to be aware of this is crazy and it is going to affect us in some way, shape or form. I don't think any one of us really knows what that is at the moment. But yeah, I want people to just talk about it and spread the word however you can. Even if at your next like supplier coffee date, just bring it up. Do you see this? It's mental. What do you all think?
No, I love that. My husband tries to talk about it with people sometimes and someone was like, why do you care? There's so many other things to care about. And he's like, this is my life's work. Like, why do you not care? As a musician, why do you not care? It was kind of his stance. And he's like, they're like, well, there's bigger things to worry about. He's like, this is like, that's his dream is to be a music, so I'm like, it's so valid that you have these conversations and you would hope that other people would want to have them too. So I totally resonate with what you said. And guys, if you ever want to chat about it, hit either of us up, maybe not Chris. Man, but this has been so fun and I'm so excited that I was able to get you on so quick. Definitely go check out his post, and he has one on his film account too, which I found really cool because you more so enhanced the image than created the image. So make sure you guys check out his film account too and check out those photos as well. But man, Chris, if you could tell anyone, and this can be totally off topic of AI because I ask a lot of my guests this these days, is if you could tell anyone like something you wish someone had told younger you as an artist, as a creative, like, or as a business owner, whatever way you want to interpret that, If you could give anyone advice that you wish someone had told younger you, like what would it be?
I think it would be, don't fall into the trap of doing what other people are doing. Just do what makes you happy. I rebranded my whole wedding account maybe 8 months ago. So I was shooting a lot of digital work, a lot of quite like safe weddings, and I was done. I was so out of the game. I was like, I'm not in for this anymore. I'm just turning up to weddings, very like 50% energy, just like whatever. And my partner suggested I just rebrand to go full film, nothing less, nothing more, because I love doing that for my travel work. And it's been like the best decision of my life. And I'm finding the people who I really resonate with and who seem to like resonate with me. And it's been like the best thing ever. And I'm so angry that I didn't do it like 2 years ago, because what's the point of doing what you're doing if you're not enjoying it?
100%. That's so good. I love asking everyone's opinion on that because everyone's answer is so different. And I just think it's so fun for everyone to hear. But man, Chris, it has been so fun having you on. If you could tell everyone really fast, just to wrap us up, where they could find you, social media, website, whatever you want to tell everyone, go ahead and tell them where they can find you in case they're listening audio only right now.
Okay. You can find me on Instagram at Grainy Boi, which is boy spelt with an I, Boi. And if you want to look at my weddings, it's Grainy Boi Weddings. And
Sweet.
If you want, I don't know why you'd want to go on my website, but it's grainyboi.com.
Easy. So good. Man, it's been a blast having you on. You guys, if you love this, you might as well go ahead, share this with a friend, share this with a neighbor, share it with anyone you want that you think should be listening and having conversations about AI. Go ahead and share it with them. And if you love this podcast, I would love you if you could leave me a review. That would mean the world to me, and it would help me get more amazing guests like Chris on. So that's all for today, you guys. But I will catch you guys next week. Thanks for listening.